Yo, my name is Simon Thompson, and as of today, the Toronto Raptors are 5 games in with a record of 3-2. And I want to talk about some of the things I saw that I liked and some of the things I saw that I didn't like right here on the Toronto Raptors Files. Yo, so as I said, we're 5 games in. The Raptors' record is 3-2, and they've won, let's say, a game they probably shouldn't have won. Well, they wouldn't have won based on last year's perception of them anyway. But we have for the most part, healthy Raptors team with the players we expect to see back. All of the starters they kind of projected to have are starting. Pascal Siakam's back at full strength, and they're all playing together. So that's the main thing. We got the starting unit back. So to start off, preseason was was definitely uh, a mixed bag where it looked good at some points and it looked really bad at some points. And, you know, they finished, let's say, 50-50 as far as, you know, uh, any improvement or any deficiencies or whatever. It's about half and half. Um, yeah, so the preseason uh, wasn't, to say, the best barometer. I think they really were just trying to figure one another out. And then start the season, um, it's, let's say, it's still kind of, it's way too early still to say, but there's a pretty good sense of uh, you know, there's a pretty good sense that they're more on the way up than they are on the way down, or that they've flatlined or anything. So let's start off with some of the things that I did like. What I did like to see was the fact that Pascal Siakam is back. He's at full strength and he's better than he was before. There's a bit more focus, he's a bit more decisive, and he's a bit more precise as far as his decision making. There are a couple of lapses here and there, but overall, he's a lot more focused than he has been in the past. Um, Another thing I liked that Fred Van Vliet is, trying to be more assertive on the offense. I'd really like to see him take more shots on the inside because he's been effective at that a bit. Less going to the hoop, but more trying to find his mid-range jumper. It's looking pretty good. His three-point shot is looking a lot more smoother and a lot more confident as well. Um, Scotty Barnes is going to be Scotty Barnes, so there's not much more to say about that. I also like that there seems to be a bit more emphasis on going a little bit deeper at the bench and letting the bench players make mistakes and run a bit longer. Um, I would still like to see them utilized a bit more. Like you don't, I, I would, let's not get into that yet. Let's just let's just go with the fact that they're using the bench. So that's been great to see. It's also been good to see that they're getting a bit more calls. They're going to the line a lot more um, than last year. I don't know if it's the refs changing their mind. I think it's probably a bit more of the. It looks like it's a bit more of the Raptors changing strategy, just being a bit more aggressive and not being so indecisive. That's why they wouldn't get calls against them because a lot of people argue, everybody on every team argues, every fan for every team argues that the refs are out to get their team or whatever, and it's not the case. This is if you're playing. The case is if you're playing inconsistently, if you're running and driving to the hole 9 out of 10 times, but you're kind of doing it aimlessly, you're not going to get the calls. This time they're going to the hole. When they go to the hole, it's a lot more. It's a lot more precise, and it looks a lot more. Um, it looks a lot more compelling. I'd say it's not just for the sake of getting a foul. They're actually looking to score. So the refs will look at that and be like, okay, this is the way they're playing. They're really trying to score the basket. So when they don't, or when it looks like they got fouled, it's most likely that they got fouled. So that's one of the other better things. The defense is has been pretty good. It's a bit better. Um, they're still well, yeah. Save that for a bit. It's just better. The defense is better. We'll say that. We'll leave it at that. Um, Also, uh, I like that Gary Trent Jr. has kind of finding a groove. I like that he's not deferring so much. Like he's a good offensive player, and he should just be concerned with scoring, not worried about stepping on anyone's toes or anything like that. Because there were tendencies last season where he would try to pass the ball off, even if he was open or whatever. It looked like he was just trying to defer, and hopefully he's kind of got a sense of his order on the team. Pascal's gonna get his points. He can get his points. Scotty, you don't really have to worry about getting points. He just does what he does, and points seem to come from whatever he does. So that's been a great thing to see. Now, some of the things I didn't like seeing, didn't, I don't like seeing. Um, there's still a lot of careless turnovers. Um, is the one thing I didn't like seeing too much. Careless, not necessarily, you know, bad, but just kind of, just not paying attention. And where they did make some turnovers, there were at least turnovers where they were actually trying to be aggressive. So that's a good thing to see. If the ball goes the other way, but it was like, you know, it was there was a purpose as opposed to just bailing, then it's all right. Then it's acceptable. Um, the other thing I didn't really like seeing, I still don't like seeing the underdevelopment of Kem Birch, and I think it's really because he needs to they need to find a medium for him because he's great at running the floor, being open, things like that, but I'd really like to see him develop at least some sort of short jumper or short hook, because he gets in the lane, he gets those opportunities every once in a while, but he's just so underdeveloped as far as the team structure goes that it's like, it's almost useless. It's like a waste when he gets in there, and he gets fouled out so quick. So I think the coaching staff needs to try to, really find a groove for him, because he's athletic, he's strong, and he's young. So it would just be a waste if you just kind of bench him. The other thing still, for me, so far the problems with the Raptors have been, I guess, the underdevelopment of certain players. That I think, what's his name? Pardon me, Malachi Flynn looks pretty good, and I like to see a little bit more of him, because I mean he's kind of next in line as far as Fred VanVleet goes, as so far as being his relief, um, more of a shooting than a point, but still having to have to handle some point duty and being the leader off the bench. So I'd like to see them find some sort of groove for him, because another thing for him would be, the short range jumper, stuff like that. Like I don't think that they need to be throwing him out at the 3 point line so much, but really just finding his comfort level. I still think they have a problem with a lot of players finding their comfort levels, and that being with Kem Birch and with Malachi Flynn, because it's kind of been a while for Flynn. Birch, it's been a short while. It's great that what's his name, Boucher, has found his groove. So it might just be a matter of time for Kem Birch and Malachi Flynn, maybe a bit more time. It'll probably happen this season, because, like I said, they look up the starting lineup looks a bit stronger. So if they can handle their own, then you mix them with some of the bench players, and it will help them grow a bit too. Um, Also, OG Ananobi. So it was brought up this week about how, one of the other videos, I can't remember the channel, that, the Raptors might be looking to trade OG Ananobi. I'm not sure how real that is, how realistic it is or not, but I can see them doing it. I can kind of see them not doing it because there's two things with OG is it's like he is an amazingly gifted player and everybody knows it. He's a very good basketball player. The problem is in this team's structure. It's hard to exploit it because there's so many other talented players on the team. With him being more of a structure player, and the Raptors play a very free flowing system. It's all about chaos and deceiving the defense and stuff like that. And he's coming from Indiana, and that's more of a structured system. That's the Raptors are playing positionless basketball, and he's from a system where there's positions. So that's going to be a tough thing for him because he gets the ball and he defers. Because, like I said, he's a structure player. He believes in, he plays like he plays like he's in a structure still. And the Raptors don't play like that. So it's been an adjustment for him that you could see. And there's times where he's aggressive and he's really trying to get it. But then there's other times where he's like still indecisive. So I still don't like seeing that indecisive part of him where he's kind of wondering what he should do. Like he's at the 3 point line, he passes it out, even though he can make the shot. Sometimes he passes down the opportunity to go to the lane, and sometimes he goes through traffic. So I don't know if it's whether he needs to be the one. It usually structured players from those types of systems, if they were a very good player in that type of system, they usually kind of tend to need to be the ball handler and the solutions uh, person, but player, sorry, solutions player. But I think there's too much value to trade him. I can see him getting traded to a team, and he will be the player that Raptors fans expect him to be, but I don't think it'll happen here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because it seems to work. I would still prefer to see him, try to be more of that second option because that's the one thing the Raptors really don't have was when Paul Pierce said all those many years ago that the Raptors don't have that it. And that it has always only ever been that other guy that they can rely on no matter what. They had DeRozan that they could rely on as a number one. Lowry, it's hard to say he was the number two for sure. Now it's like they're in the same thing where they have Pascal Siakam, but there's no clear, definitive other guy that other teams need to really focus in on. Um, and so it's hard for them to draw that second double team. But they do. The good thing is, the positive thing, they have a lot of players who are capable of, you know, contributing, like, in a big way. So it helps. That helps, kind of helps kind of make up for that lack of a solid number two. But it would be so good, and I know Raptors fans will agree with me when you say it'd be so good to see, you know, pardon me, it'd be so good to see OG Anunoby play that Robin to Pascal Siakam's Batman type thing, sidekick and sometime occasional, go-to guy. So that's just the one other thing. I don't know if it'll happen this season. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it would just be good to see it happen. Um. Anyway, that's all I got for you in this post here. Um. So anyway, like, subscribe if you want to see more content from me, even though I'm all scatterbrained and stuff. Just like, subscribe if you want to see more content, and we'll see what we're talking about in the next, and that's where I hope to see y'all. Peace. It's Toronto Raptors.